Commission May 18, 2023 meeting to order. Roll call. Commissioner Miyagi,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor,
Present.
Commissioner Gordon, here, Commissioner Waltock, here, and present myself. Do we have any agenda changes, additions, and or deletions?
Yes, for consideration of the commission, moving non-action item 4, public art and private development, to the beginning of the meeting before action items.
Okay. Do we have a motion for that?
No motion needed, just
Okay, well then,
if you're in agreement.
we're in agreement.
Okay.
Do we have any public comments for non-action items?
No public in attendance at this point.
Okay. I guess first agenda, approval of minutes from the April 20th, 2023 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call. Commissioner Miyagi,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commis-
Although should I abstain if I wasn't there? Does it matter? Okay.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Waltock,
Yes.
and yes for myself as well. Do we have any city official comments?
Actually, tonight we don't have any staff comments, so we'll just jump right into the items.
Fantastic. Okay, first non-action item. Public art and private development. And this is the interim review of public art and private development art plan for the 3200 Park Boulevard, former Fry's site development project. And we have a presentation by Jennifer Easton, public art consultant and applicant project team. So
Yes, thank you.
please start.
Before I invite Jennifer Easton to join us with her informational presentation, I'll just present a quick summary of the project just to refresh everybody's memory. So this is an interim review of the 3200 Park Boulevard. It's not an action item. So this project includes substantial modifications to the existing cannery building, construction of a new parking garage, and construction of 74 new townhome units. The Public Art Commission gave feedback back in January 23 at the commission meeting in January to the Sobrato team, and is now asked to give feedback to the applicant team on the artist selection process, the project artist, and any other feedback as they begin their design development process. Just to remind the commission that in December 2022, the applicant, based on the feedback from the Council Ad Hoc Committee, indicated their interest in commissioning art on site, at least for a portion of the total art budget, rather than paying the entire budget to the Public Art Fund. So this project is structured as a two-phase project. So the project budget for phase 1 today is $420,000. At the initial review meeting in January, the Public Art Commission was supportive of the plan to use half of the public art funds for art on site and half as an in lieu payment. Commissioners also encouraged the applicant to incorporate public art that would celebrate themes of cultural diversity and the unique history of the project site and the nearby community. So again, today, the Public Art Commission is asked to weigh in with feedback regarding the artist selection process. The applicant has undertaken the artists that the project team intends to work with, and any other considerations the applicant should keep in mind as they enter into their design development process. So with that, I want to introduce public art administrator with tons of experience and art consultant for the Sobrata organization, Jennifer Easton. Hi, Jennifer. We can see you, and if you have a
Hello.
presentation to share, you're welcome to share it.
Terrific. Thank you, Nadia. Let me get this right. Are you seeing my screen?
Perfect. Yes, thank you.
Yay, I love when that happens. So good evening, commissioners, and my thanks to you all for allowing us to provide this project update at this time. As Nadia has said, we've been working on, in the interim, we've been working on both learning more about the project history, as well as the design team has been working more on the building site and the building design. Obviously meeting with the Historic Resources Board, the Architectural Review Board, and doing some project site work. Your initial comments from January were very helpful in our considering our project direction for the public art. So thank you for that. And at this point, we would like to bring you the exciting updates, which is the artist selection, and then a little bit of the background of where we are with the building design. Let's see if I can get my, always happens like this, right? There we go. So for the presentation tonight, we'll do a quick building design update. I will update you on the art program development and the artist selection, present the selected artists, give you some of the next steps that will be occurring in the general timelines, and then leave a moment for, or some time for question and answers if you have some. So the building design update, just as a reminder, though probably most of you are very familiar with the site, this is the parcel that we're speaking of, the old Fry's, the former Fry's site, plus the adjacent parking lot, and the adjacent parking lot sites to the north and the south. As we've discussed previously, this part of the building is intended to be removed, and the research and development that currently happens there will move into this part of the building. This part of the site will become where the housing phase will occur. These parcels will be delivered to the city for below market rate housing and a proposed future park. So that is a refresher on the site. So in this phase, which Nadia referred to as in the budget, is the $420,000 art budget. So this is the phase that's happening, the removal of the this end of the building, the creation of a low parking structure. I think it's a 2-story parking structure just north of the building, and then refurbishment of the existing cannery building. So just to give you some information on what's happened to the building, I think the refinements have really brought it a lot more aligned to its kind of historic, with the monitor roofs, really looking at the historic fenestration, echoing that in the current designs for the window system. As you can see before, it was 2-part windows. Now it's the more mullioned window. Just making that kind of more of a standout. They've also changed the layering or the heights of the parking structure to make it more sympathetic with the building itself. And I think one thing that was really a standout is that they've allowed this raised platform, which was the old loading dock level, to remain. And so it will no longer be a flat entrance, but on this side, the north side of the building, it will be a stepped up entrance to access the building and the research and development, the more kind of commercial or business side of the building, building access. So, and then similarly on the south side, we see again some changes in the fenestration, and just as a reminder, this actually these windows will probably be removed because this is really one of our key potential sites for the artwork. So we want to leave that in the dialogue for the opportunity for the artwork to express itself. We may, just going back, we may look at some opportunities on the plaza over here, because indeed it will connect to the residential, which would be kind of where we're standing from this view of the building. But really thinking about the opportunity for the artwork being more on this side and along here, due to the fact that that's where the park will be, more of the potential bikeway, and also the potential residential that the city would be building. And this is just another view. So this would be the housing, the relationship between the cannery with the renovated monitor roof to the potential housing that will be going in phase 2. And then just as a reminder, this would be the west facing wall of the building. El Camino is behind where this photo was taken from, and is another potential opportunity for artwork. As you may know, if you've walked down here or driven down here at all, you lose the sight line pretty quickly. So really what you see here is the best potential opportunity, but could definitely be an opportunity for artwork. And a smaller opportunity just adjacent. So this is the relationship, is that you can kind of see, here's that covered walkway. And so this area is what we're seeing right here. These trees are currently intended to remain on the site, so it's something that we would have to take into consideration. But again, an opportunity potentially to create a theme that comes back and is revisited on another part of the building. So again, just another opportunity for the artists to consider. Right, another aspect of the project that is not part of the public art is there will be the development of historic signage, or signage rather, about the history of the site that will likely go in the area. Up in somehow in this, incorporated on the interior, if it's for public access. But again, it may also find its way, wrong direction, but may find its way also along this walkway as well. So that's still being determined at this point. So, so what we've been working on up to this point is really looking at the historic background. As we talked a little bit about it in the meeting in January, it really is a fascinating history of the site. A Chinese immigrant, Thomas Fun Chu, who came to the United States following his father's arrival, father and mother's arrival here, and went to work with his father and took over the cannery that was originally in San Jose, and then built the one here in Palo Alto, and was the third largest cannery in the United States at the turn of the 20th century, which is rather remarkable, but not, given that the Valley of the Heart's Delight was really, a center of the food growing community in the United States at the time. We had the wonderful opportunity to meet with Gloria Hom, Thomas Fun Chu's granddaughter, and she's done an amazing amount of research about the project and really conveyed the cultural significance and the cultural history of what that work involved, including some connections to Giannini, the owner and founder of the Bank of Italy, now Bank of America, and just his role in creating a work opportunity for mostly immigrants to the region. And so just a fascinating discussion that we hope can weave into the story of the artwork as well. And actually has some very fascinating parallels to contemporary Palo Alto. So we're really excited to see where the artists might think about that. We've also been looking just at the architecture and the current nature of the site itself and the area around the site, the river or the creek that runs adjacent to the site, just some of the beautiful balance between the built environment and the natural environment that surrounds the site. Some of that might also think of it's coming into play and into dialogue with the artwork. So these are the sorts of things that we started to use to build the the selection of the artist as well. So and I'll talk about that in just a moment. Again, analyzing the building, where are the opportunities? How do the new changes to the building impact the potential opportunities for our work? As we talked about before, it's a rather constrained site as far as like large sculpture or things like that. So we really did have them focusing on probably more two-dimensional expressions, possibly mosaics or cut metal. But it could definitely take a smaller but a related sculpture in one of the patio areas. So we added that to the mix of artists we were thinking about as a potential opportunity. And then looking at the budget, as Nadia referred to, this phase of the project will take half the budget, half the public art budget, because the phases are roughly split in half financially. So the other half of the funds will be provided in lieu to the public art program at the time that the second phase of the building, of the project scope, that the housing builds out. So that could be an opportunity to continue this dialogue with the history in the house, by the city. With those funds, they might add it to the park funds that occur. It's really up to the city how those funds get used in the future, as you well know. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the research about the artists. So we really did start to focus on making this an interesting opportunity for, I will say specifically, we were looking at women artists, and we were looking at artists who have an Asian background and whose work is in dialogue with the thinking about the immigrant experience. And that was a very broad focus. It could be pictorially, it could be more just conceptually. And we really kept it very broad. We put together a list of 14 artists, mostly from California, but some from New York and other places as well. And it was fascinating research, and it's really a rich area of discovery for these types of artists, what they're, and a variety of work. So we were looking at really different work. So that was exciting. So we shortlisted 3 artists for interview, and at the end of the day, we selected artist Kyungmi Shin of Shin Studios from Los Angeles. And now I'm going to show you a little bit of her work. Kyungmi has a very strong public art background. She's probably completed, I'm trying to remember, it's about 12 pieces of public art. She has an equally strong studio practice, which was very exciting, because the way the two practices interweave are very sympathetic to each other in a really, I think, a way that will be very dynamic for this project. She also has a lot of great experience with different materials, which you'll see in some of the examples I'll show you. So that was really also very interesting to us, because we knew she could think about the site in different ways with different materials. And she also has, I've worked with her once in the past, and she has a great interest in dialogue with the community. She just finished a project in San Jose that had a significant amount of dialogue with the community, and was able to really think about those ideas that came from the community and incorporate them in interesting ways. So this piece is an electronic lit, LED piece. It is actually a moving piece. It's at the Netflix studio in Los Angeles. And it shows abstracted historic clips of film and sound tests. So it really reflects and gives a kind of a backwards looking, forward looking notion to thinking about the film in filmic arts. This is the piece it's actually in fabrication right now. I believe, I think this is, I forgot to ask her because it's such a good rendition, and I think it's still in fabrication, but this is, I may be wrong, could be finished, but this is the piece for San Jose for the new Vietnamese American Service Center. And originally what she started to look at is the landscape of Vietnam and how to incorporate that on the roof line. They really wanted something that would be illuminated, so they definitely looked at the roof line. And then through her dialogue with the community, they really wanted to introduce more architectural elements. So that was incorporated as well. And so this piece really provided what they wanted, which was something that is both characteristic during the day and almost a beacon for the community at night. This is the piece she recently completed for a BART station in El Cerrito. And I just laugh because she made this all by hand. She made all the ceramics. They're these two like 30-foot long mosaics. They're gorgeous. And they really, the theme is home in this piece. So in the one you're seeing the detail on the right, she's thinking about the different types of homes. So here's an Ohlone hut. Here's a nest, a bird nest. Here's a historic typical El Cerrito historic home. And this is the one that faces to the west. So it has a west side view, looking out towards the bay. And then this is called the Hills piece, which is looking towards the east or facing the east. So as you come out of the station on the east side, you do have a view to the hills. And this is more typical homes that they're actually characterized in the mural itself. A piece she did for Chicago, again, on an architectural theme, integrating the infamous wind of the Windy City into, and again, thinking about the sites. And you'll notice between the two transit sites, as you can imagine, transit sites need very durable materials, which is what she found for these two projects. And again, something we were excited to see her expertise with mosaics, because it is something that we had been thinking about. Again, some past mosaic work. This was for Norfolk State University Light Rail Station, which is next to a historically Black college there, and just giving, bringing the history of that college into the station itself. And then briefly, I wanted to just touch on her studio work, because it also deals with layering of Western and Asian cultures, her own history, sometimes stereotypical histories. So really kind of looking at how one thinks about cultures and communities historically, how they integrate into dominant cultures, you know, just that play of one's role in a bigger community. And here's some detail because of paintings that she recently completed as part of an exhibit she did I want to say it was in France, I think it was. But again, that play of the family photos, historic, as you can see, historic European, Western European imagery, and then more traditional Asian history. So that's a brief overview of our artist's work. Where we are and things is that we are getting her under contract right now. We will be working on conceptual development for the summer, during the summer, and then our estimated return to the commission with the early concepts will be in late summer, early fall of this year. So we really are working to get her work. What we want to do is just, we're hoping to have like some sort of community meeting out in the neighborhood to hear their thoughts and ideas about things to include, or, you know, things that are important for the community, and then bring that into dialogue with what she's interested in pursuing in her own practice and in this opportunity on site. So that's kind of the overview. I will say we particularly appreciate, because the Historic Resources Board is having a meeting next week, and they're like, what's going on with the art? We're like, no, Arts Commission gets to see it first. So thank you for having us tonight and fitting us into your schedule, because we really did want to bring this to your for your comments before we brought it to any other committees or commissions within the city. So thanks a million, we appreciate it. And I'll take any questions. And I just wanted to introduce, I see Tim Steele is on the meeting as well now, who is the Senior VP of Real Estate Development for Zebrata. So if you have any building related questions, feel free to toss those down.
And just a quick comment before we jump to question section, let me check if there is any members of the public in the audience for comment. And I see no raised hands, so you may proceed.
First thing first, thank you so much for the thoughtful presentation. And I appreciate the fact that you said in your artist selection, you had originally 14 artists, and the criterias were local artists, a woman artist, and if I heard it correctly, someone that has the immigrant experience. Did I hear that correctly?
I wouldn't say that they were necessarily immigrants, but that they they had a, they were of an Asian descent, so would have had, but had a close dialogue with immigration or thinking about the immigrant experience in their work. So I wouldn't say they were first generation necessarily, or they were immigrants themselves, but they could have been first or second generation or something along those lines. That's really what we're looking at.
Got it. Thank you so much. I
Mhm.
appreciate your
Yeah.
sensitivity to that.
So any other questions or comments to Sobrato team?
Jennifer, thank you for the presentation. It's good to see you
Yeah,
again.
you as well. Thank you.
And I'm excited about the artist and some of the things that she's done, and especially the 3D stuff. I think that's kind of exciting for public art to make it more dimensional than just have it flat. So I'm looking forward for her to come up with some plans and ideas for this building. So I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Can I push you a little bit more? When you say the 3D, which of the pieces are you thinking, like the sculptural pieces, or more I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
Well, I liked the piece that was on top of the Vietnamese building in San Jose. That I think it gives that building a little more oomph to have
The
something like
box.
that. Yeah. And to be lit at night too.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's a
beautiful.
great thing.
Yeah. And of course, as you can appreciate with this building, we will be walking a fine line, because it is a historic building. And so we want to be, we want to consider those folks in the community who are very interested in the historic nature of the building, but they also seem to have an interest in the art as part of that dialogue for the building. So we're really excited where that can go. But thank you for that comment.
One of the things that jumped out at me was the first image you showed of the kind of dynamic one that took video clips and things.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, because you did make a comment earlier that the historical context also ties into some current context here. And I was thinking that it was interesting too, that it's on the former Fry's site. So something that was electronic and just Silicon Valley, and kind of marrying the old with the new. And it seems like that's a little bit part of her practice anyway. So that seems relevant, especially to that location.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. Yeah, you're spot on. And I think also the thing that's so exciting about some of the history of the cannery is that Thomas Finchu is known for, he developed the first asparagus canning process, right? So, he was a leading innovator, and what's Palo Alto known but for leading innovators. So it's just really interesting parallel. So I appreciate that comment.
Sorry, I want to ask one other thing.
Sure.
In either her or your investigation, as you dove into this a little bit, is there any artifacts existing, like historical photos and all of that stuff from this time, and particularly from that building or the experience, the cannery, or any of the things they developed or patented?
When we met with Gloria, the granddaughter, she did have some historic photos. There are some that are out there that we've seen on the internet. There actually is a team that I mentioned is doing that research about the history of the site itself, and going to History San Jose, and going to various archives. And so I know that they are definitely looking for those types of things, and we plan to get together with them in the very near future. I mean, they're still in the process of their development, research as well. We're hoping so, but I'm not sure what a treasure trove is out there.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Just so I understand, so and I know this is not part of the Public Art Commission's sort of mandate, but just to have full context, you've referenced some type of historical designation, or some type of what is signage?
Oh,
Um,
okay, yeah.
Can you kind of provide context of how that will look visually, the size of it? And
It's
how,
not, great question. It's not designed yet. So I think
Okay.
that's, I don't know, Tim, if you want to provide more of an update on that, you're welcome to, but go ahead.
Excuse me. I assume you're referring to the interpretive?
Correct, the interpretive signage.
Right. So we have a separate historic consultant that's doing the research for that, as well as taking what they call a HABs, which is a historical photograph documentation of the property. But we're still in the early part of collecting and searching through what's available, as Jennifer referred to. We also, Jennifer referred in her discussion that Thomas Tooth actually had their larger first cannery called Bayside, which is in Alviso. And we understand there might be some artifacts and photographs there too. And that one has already been designated historic landmark in San Jose. And we understand that they have some things there for us to look at. And then there's also some things that we're looking at the San Jose Historic Museum around the cannery business and around the Bayside Cannery. So we're in the throes of trying to go through and gather and review all that material.
thank you so much.
Thank you. I think this is a really exciting project. I'm looking forward to hearing more as it moves on. I do have a question though. I guess I was thinking that the artwork was going to be kind of a historical, I don't want to use the word timeline, but a historical narrative. So I'm just curious if you can talk about whether you're going to be asking or kind of encouraging the artist to utilize the historical narrative that's going to be in the, I don't know what you called it again, I apologize, but the signage. Or is there, because I was thinking that actually the artist would be helping design that signage, but I guess that's not the case. So I'm curious if that's a thought or if there's any way that the signage can somehow be connected into the artwork. Is it separate? Okay. I was wondering if there's going to be, I guess, let me just put it this way. Is there going to be any connection of any form? So there's connection.
Tim, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that we got a couple different things going independently, but at the same time, hopefully might merge into collectively telling a story or multiple stories. As we gather and research what's available, it's not just Thomas Boone Chu, it's the cannery business, it's the agricultural business, it's the immigration at the time, it's all these different elements about the history of Santa Clara County, the history of this site, the history of Thomas Boone Chu. We are required to have an interpretive, which are these signs, partially within a retail space that's been set aside at the corner of the remaining cannery building portion, that the city's ad hoc committee, which was made up of 2 council members, negotiated in our package of how we're going to approach this property. And then separately, we have the HABs, which is a EIR CEQA mitigation for part of the history of this. And then we have the artists and the art, which is being driven by the art ordinance. Luckily, we're looking at all this together. Jennifer and the artist will be working with the historic consultant, reviewing what they've gathered. Jennifer was included in the interview with his granddaughter, Thomas Boone Chu's granddaughter. So we're trying to have this as a teamwork. I don't think they're going to stand totally freestanding because I think we're pulling from the same sources. And there is an opportunity maybe for them to speak together, but it's a little early to appreciate what might rise to the top and how that might come together.
And to follow on to that, I also am very conscientious of the fact that there is an interest, and that's why I would add another layer into what Tim mentioned, is that many women worked at this cannery, and that's one of the reasons I was interested in trying to find a woman artist. So we didn't just look at women; there were a couple guys in the mix, but and I think it's important to also, and I think in reading and talking to Elise and Nadia and reading some of the mandates of the art program, is that you also want public art to stand alone as public art. You want it to be art, a piece of art, and not,
For sure.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, that we didn't
Yeah,
want,
it's not signage.
it's not signage, right? And so we want that to be art, a piece that is inspiring as a piece of art. And so I didn't look for an illustrator. I didn't, so I think it will be walking an interesting line. I think that's why can be is an excellent choice for this project, because of where her interests lie and that kind of playing the things. But I can tell you it will not be a timeline. We'll have a timeline somewhere, I'm sure, but it won't be in the artwork itself.
A couple comments. I remember in our visit with you in January earlier this year, because the site itself is fairly large, and I understand it's being built out in different phases. And sort of one of the concerns I had mentally was when we looked at the opportunities right next to the commercial building, it seems like the location, the sort of the landscape, the real estate is quite limited in size. And then I think we have some pictures of like the back of Fry's. Then the concern with respect to that location is the visibility of that. So, we certainly appreciate that you're producing a public art piece, and we want to make sure that, it's visible, it's prominent, and, so that will be something that we want to make sure we emphasize with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And also it is, Nadia, can you help me with the name of the park? Is this nearby that
Bullway Park.
Yeah, and that also apparently that piece has a dialogue with the cannery. You'll have an opportunity when the park gets built. So I think there's going to be a really interesting regional, very neighborhood, I would say, opportunity for various bites at the apple, as they say, of thinking about the history of the cannery, how it integrates to the larger community, both historically and contemporaneously. And I appreciate the comment of thinking about like having an artwork of impact as best as possible, given the constraints of the site. And so, and I think also, the challenges are, where is the viewer standing from, as you can all appreciate, because sometimes you're up close, sometimes you're far away. So how do you think about that? Are you walking past it? Are you driving past it? So there's a lot of different, because there's roads right by there. There's going to be a park. There's going to be somebody who'll walk up. So we're definitely thinking about, on both the historic signage and the artwork, those different like experience levels with you.
Thank you, fellow commissioners and chair, for the great comments. Really, I don't have much to add. Jennifer, this selection of Shin Gray Studios is just wonderful. Really, the work that you showed, really the artist is able to take the site and present a real wow factor. And I'm just going to give a little plug for the old school mosaics. It's hard for me to believe that the artist created those tiles and the whole mosaic, and what a beautiful installation that was. And then, of course, as Lisa mentioned, the video clips on the Netflix building. Wow, that's really an impactful thing. And just all the comments, I don't have much to add except for thank you. This is a thoughtful decision, and we really look forward to seeing what the artist has to present in August. Thanks.
So I forgot to add the best part. Her sister actually has a music school in Palo Alto. So if any of you had kids who went to the, the new Mozart School of Music, that's her sister. So.
Any other comments or questions? Jennifer and Tim, thank you so much for attending the meeting today, tonight, and providing this informative presentation to the commission. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And thanks for
Look forward to
letting us
coming back.
know. Yeah. Good night.
Do we move to the action items? Nice. Okay, so first action item is the California Avenue District mural. Staff is recommending the approval of conceptual designs for the 3 new temporary murals to be painted in California Avenue, June 1st through 9th. And Nadia, will you be presenting for us? Thank you very much.
One second, just gonna drive this presentation and I can commence my report to the commission. Thank you so much, commissioners. Before I present to you the 3 designs by the 3 women artists approved for this project by the commission, I just wanted to provide a quick refresher about the commissioning process and how we got here today. So this past winter, in December and January, the Public Art Commission staff launched a pilot mural program to bring more murals to Palo Alto neighborhoods and also its commercial corridors. So we launched a call for mural artists who want to be considered for the Palo Alto mural roster, guided by the 22-23 Public Art Commission priorities and also the California Avenue District Public Art Plan. It was decided to commission the first murals as part of this pilot program along California Avenue in the California Avenue District. So back in January, staff opened also a call for walls to identify privately owned walls to host those long-term murals. And we were successful in securing 2 locations along California Avenue. First is the exterior wall of Izzy's Brooklyn Bagels. It's the wall facing El Camino Real, and it's a really busy public space. Of course, you know, farmers market happens right there. So there's always a line of acolytes, you know, waiting for their bagels and breakfast at Izzy's. So very visual sight. And then the other side along California Avenue is the exterior wall of California Avenue, California Avenue Central, HOA at 161 California Avenue, essentially on the other end of California Avenue corridor. To anchor the event, additionally, the intersection of California Avenue and Ash Street was, which is currently closed to vehicular traffic, was identified as the large-scale ground plain mural. So in spring, with the Public Art Commission approving funding to commission 3 artists to create long-term temporary murals for on California Avenue, we returned back to the muralist roster. So over 250 artists, local, US-wide, international, applied for the muralist roster. And 218 of those applicants were accepted into the roster. Once the funds were approved, staff initiated an artist selection process and reached out to 37 California-based artists with from the roster with appropriate background and qualifications appropriate for this exact corridor. So the artists were provided with the design brief, and let me just jump to the next slide. The artists were provided with the California Avenue Master Design Brief, informed by Calab Public Art Plan, and also input from the wall hosts. So here you have a synopsis of the design intent for the murals for California Avenue. A selection panel of community members and stakeholders, including Cynthia Branwall, artist and currently Coverly Artist Studio Program resident, Michael Campilonio, California Avenue business owner, Judy Lulus, artist who created a temporary mural for the construction fence for the PSB building, Jack Morton, a Calab District community member, and Commissioner Shen, representing the Public Art Commission, were part of that selection panel. So the panel reviewed a list of 26 artists and evaluated and ranked them according to their qualifications. So artists Nicole Ponsler, Olivia Lucy Unger, and Paz de la Calzada were the highest ranked artists based on their qualifications that were identified by the panelists and also approved by the site hosts and later Public Art Commission meeting, Public Art Commission. In April, we held a virtual community meeting with the selected 3 artists who presented their past projects and also gathered input from the community members and site hosts to inform their mural designs. The recording of this meeting is actually available on our Public Art Program website, and it also lives on the Public Art Program Vimeo channel. And with that, let me introduce you to the designs. So the first design, conceptual design I'm sharing with you today is by Olivia Lucy Unger. It's called Moonflowers for Georgia. So this is for Easy's Brooklyn Bagel site. And here is Olivia's artist statement. This mural features a group of moonflowers, a plant native to Western USA, Central and South America. These stunning flowers are evening bloomers. They open their circular petals in the evening and close them in the morning. Moonflowers have been the subject of fascination for generations. The Chumash Native Americans in South California integrated them into the creation story. The flowers were also a favorite of my personal hero, artist Georgia O'Keeffe, who wrote, "When I think of the delicate fragrance of the flowers, I almost feel the coolness and sweetness of the evening." Liv continues, "I'm thrilled to be painting these flowers among 2 other wonderful women artists for the festival." Here I'm presenting you with the design by artist Nicole Ponsler, which is titled Bloom. So this design is developed for the exterior wall of the California Avenue Central HOA. Nicole's statement: "Marigolds represent the sun. They symbolize the power, strength, and light that lives inside every person. Marigolds speak to love, passion, and courage. Their colors associated with sunsets, which reminds us that life is short and we need to seize the day." Nicole continues, "My work is all about relationships with nature, with people, and with communities. I endeavor to create works that elicit a sense of joy and that remind us of our connectivity to the environment." So when developing her design, Nicole was particularly excited about the sense of community that California Avenue shows so strongly among its local businesses, residents, just like a strong community feel. And finally, here's 650 by San Francisco-based artist Paz de la Calzada, who we actually worked with in the past. As you may recall, she created a site-specific temporary project here for King Plaza, which was exhibited throughout summer 2020, the Labyrinth. So the proposed design to be painted at the intersection of California Avenue and Ash Street, which is close to vehicular traffic, with the exception of farmers markets on Sundays. Pauses statement. This mural explores the relationship between California oaks and water in the context of the climate crisis. Inspired by Victorian wallpaper, I incorporate elements such as the leaves from the many local oaks and organic patterns to contrast the natural and artificial aspects of human culture. Using the fluid and organic qualities of water, I invoke the movement and vitality of these majestic trees, highlighting the importance of nature and the fragility of ecosystems that depend on water. This work is a tribute to the beauty and resilience of oak trees and the call to action to protect them. So Paz did some extensive research into the types of oak which are native, in particular to Palo Alto and this part of the Bay Area. You can also see her signature flow-like line work that she incorporated into this mural. So just a few words about the event itself and some exciting community participation volunteering opportunities. So the murals event will take place between June 1st and 9th. All 3 artists will be on site painting their murals between approximately 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. As I mentioned earlier, there are 3 locations. California Avenue Central. So this is the site closest to the Caltrain station. Easy's Brooklyn Bagels on the opposite end of California Avenue, facing El Camino Real. And the groundscape mural will go right in the middle of the avenue at the intersection of Cal Ave and Ash Street. Paz de la Calzada painting the streetscape mural actually will be working with community members. We already announced the volunteering opportunities. So she invites community volunteers 14 plus to help her paint oak leaves, weave them into her mural. There is a sign up registration link just to structure sort of that process. So feel free to share with your friends and family. And also, I wanted to mention that there is really exciting, great opportunities for the commissioners to participate and contribute to the event. So we really encourage commissioners to collaborate with staff in providing on-site support during the festival days between June 1st and 9th. For example, helping to greet community volunteers, make sure that they'll have, waivers signed and they understand sort of like what is expected of them. Just be sort of like on call and assistant to all 3 artists. California Avenue farmers markets are really busy, and there will be tons of people inquiring about what's happening. So also just being that sort of public point of contact and engage with the community, just talk to them about this festival, the participating artists, and also just the overall opportunity to introduce this pilot program and our aim to bring more murals throughout Palo Alto, different neighborhoods and commercial corridors. So please reach out to staff and we'll work with you to coordinate those opportunities. And with that, I guess the action item today is the approval of conceptual designs by the 3 artists to be painted on California Avenue between June 1st and 9th. Let me check if there's any public comments in place, and then we can proceed to the discussion. And there's no raised hands, so I welcome your comments and questions. Thank you.
Would you please put up the list of criteria that was considered when, yes, thank you.
Absolutely, 1 second. Yes. Here we go. Thank you for your patience.
Are you wondering if there's anything about, was there anything saying it should be flora? Or was it just coincidental?
Great question. Yes. So, the design brief that was provided to the artist was also actually very similar to the brief provided to the artist commissioned for the temporary murals for the construction fence. But in general, that kind of part of feedback came from the host sites.
Oh,
They were just really inspired by colorful, bright, uplifting imageries of flora and fauna. And there was a strong desire to add that to California Avenue, to the corridor.
It's just so interesting that it's sun and moon and they're the same scale and they're flowers. And then we have the California poppies on country sun. So
Absolutely.
it's just at all. That's funny. I think, was that you were getting at?
Yeah, I was
criteria?
just wondering how we ended. They're beautiful. And of course, I think the artists have the right direction. I was just interested with the moonflowers. I know we're looking at California and related to this area, and I don't see the relation there. So I'm just wondering about that. They are beautiful. And then also just the connection with every single piece's floral fauna. So
Yeah,
I just find that
it's a
interesting.
coincidence. Like I said, there, 3 sort of like elements that informed the designs. It was the CalAV public art plan. It was also direct input from the hosts who provided their wall, and they're really excited about those natural elements. And also just general public input that also mentioned, uplifting sort of living organic forms. In relation to the moonflowers, that's actually the question that we also specified with the artist. And I think her this particular the name of the avenue, California Avenue, and also its connection to the Bay Area and state, and just she wanted to celebrate the plant life that has been sort of historically in the context of many peoples who inhabited and resided here. And so moonflowers, I looked it up, they actually, yes, very popular as a remedy within the native populations, native
Yes,
tribes. Yeah.
I too looked that up, and I see that connection, just not necessarily as connected to Cal Ave and the floral and fauna there. However, these are beautiful images, and I'm sure they will be appreciated by the public.
let me double click on that. So the first thing in the design intent, it says the design should take inspiration from the California Avenue. Can we double click on that live link?
So that will take us to the
Okay, so that's not to that.
master plan,
But I
to
guess
the public art plan.
I guess the question is the reference to flora and fauna. I vaguely remember there was a particular, it's not all flora and fauna, but it's sort of native flora
Right.
and fauna,
Yes.
right? So I think that's the part that you are kind of honing in on, which is, we are bringing something not abstract, but realistic, right? So into these environments. And so I was kind of thinking about it. It comes up in 2 contexts, right? So for instance, when I'm looking at the Paz de la Calzadas design, her language, her visual language is oak leaves, right? I mean, and we've all seen that. So the whole community has seen that. We see it all around us. So there's not necessarily an alternative meaning to it. However, if you bring in something that's visual, that is not often seen in this locality,
Mhm.
then it's by the population, right? What do these flowers mean to the viewers based on their own personal context or their cultural context? And I'm hoping that maybe we can sort of bring that element into consideration. So for instance, when I look at the marigolds, I actually have seen marigolds oftentimes, even though we don't see them planted locally often, but I see them in a lot of local celebrations, right? But I haven't seen a lot of moonflowers, and I just want to make sure, and it could be my own personal limitation. I just want to make sure that it's all positive connotations for the most part.
No, absolutely. I appreciate that comment. I know, yes. So, I mean, moonflowers are native to California, right? And have been celebrated by the cultures here through generations. And they are night bloomers, and maybe that's why we don't really notice them as we traverse the streets during the day. I also want to mention that the design was presented to the site hosts. These are murals for private walls.
Yes.
And they were, the host really resonated with that concept, and were happy and approved the design.
So I have a question that might help solve our questions. Is there going to be signage? And what will that look like, and how can signage?
Oh,
help
yeah,
that?
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
assuming there will be, but I'm just curious what kind. And then
No.
the second thing,
That's so funny.
unfortunately, I'll be out of town during that week, but I hope to come by after and check out the murals. But the other question I have with Paz's piece, how is it going to be protected? I guess I know we've done these types of products before, and we always talk about lifespan and things like that. So I think it's really great. I think all these murals are great, and I'm looking forward to seeing them.
Thank you. Yes. So I'll unfold with the first question. Yes, there will be on-site signage, like with all of our installations, murals, public art projects, whether temporary or permanent. There will be signage with probably also a QR code that will bring the viewer to our virtual collection page with more context about the design, the artist, and media links to inform the artwork. In relation to Paza's mural, so this is a bit different from those murals commissioned on the walls. So with Paza's mural, it's a pilot within a pilot. Like I mentioned, the street is currently closed to vehicular traffic. I don't know how permanent this decision is and whether it might be reopened in the future, but this project is really, it's an opportunity for us to observe how this mural will age and what its lifespan will be. And the artist is informed about that. She's on board. So we won't be maintaining or, coding that mural, but we will study how well it will age. That will inform our decision in the future whether such streetscape projects are feasible.
I have another off-topic question. I also think they're beautiful. I love the scale. I love the vibrancy. And, when we've had smaller, if this is to scale, because we've had, the smaller murals. So I think these are going to have a big impact and, just add to the already vibrant art that is around with the signage and everything. But my question is, through our work plan, we have said that our priorities are, building community, encouraging playing, belonging, community participation that promotes shared experiences, public projects that continue to advance ethnic and cultural inclusion, social, racial, and gender equity. And when I think of these types of words, it feels like we're playing it really safe with flowers. Like there's, that like that is, it's like talking about the weather. We're not taking an opportunity to deepen the conversation. And I just, you know, I know it's a pilot program and we're going out with this, but and we do have flowers there. So I'm just wondering, you know, as we, if this is successful and as we continue to develop, if we can add to some of these design intents to be a little bit more, to push the envelope a little bit, just if we are sticking with this as priorities, which, you know, we developed that, and this does not seem to support that type of direction.
Yes, great comment. And, you know, with the design brief and input from the hosts that the artists received for this particular opportunity, you know, these are the concepts that they came up with. And, you know, for the private walls, they were approved with great enthusiasm. You know, for example, and I hear your point, you know, like Paz goes into sort of a great, like she touches on a greater question, you know, besides painting beautiful leaves, she actually talks about, you know, the chronic shortage of water in California, and just the enormous, you know, climate crisis that we're facing, right? So she touches on those bigger questions. But yes, absolutely, by all means, you know, let's be thought-provoking with our future commissions. This is a pilot, our first baby steps. Nobody had in mind to play it safe and control the design development, but in you know, in consultation, the artists and the input that they received from the private owners, essentially these are the concepts they came with.
I just had
Thank
one
you.
quick question. I asked Ben if he'd be kind enough to let me ask this to your response, because I'm wondering if there's a way to see if I didn't do the research like a few other people did, but if the Homage Native Americans, did they live in Northern California? Because that could be a connection, but it only says Southern California. So that'd be my question. That could support our initiative if there's some backing there. So I don't know if there's a way that the artist can research maybe and see if there's a connection. So thank you for interrupting, letting me interrupt.
I'm really looking forward to this project, and but I echo all the comments everybody had to say about the floral designs. I've done a bit of traveling lately, and I've seen a lot of murals in different communities, some really great murals. And I think, for me anyway, this was a way to point people to murals, and especially for that Walgreens wall, or that poetic wall, poetry wall, that is, I think, in limbo right now, what's going to happen. But I thought this project would be a good way to show how murals can be done, and the different subjects that can be done in murals. I really like the streetscape one. I think you very rarely see that unless it's a crosswalk. Sometimes you see that in communities. You see crosswalks that are painted. So I think that's really innovative, and for the street to really enliven that street. But it's a great opportunity. I think there are some other floral murals already on California Avenue, the previous ones that were up. So I just, you know, I agree with what everybody said, but I think there should be a little more diversity in the types of murals that went up.
I appreciate the comment, and we'll definitely take this into consideration. And just like I mentioned before, you know, this is a new type of project for us. The wall murals are commissioned for private locations, and the designs were established in consultation with the hosts.
Quick question, did the other wall owners did they view the other projects that were going to happen on the other wall and on the street? Did they have an opportunity to do that?
So we had the community meeting with the artists and hosts in April, right? When artists presented their past work, you know, they were provided sort of like with some input about like what was exciting, you know, and just what they wanted to celebrate, you know, in their locations. So I know that actually the artists stayed in touch to make sure that there's no like nobody crosses each other and not everybody, you know, for instance, you know, painting the same motif, you know. So yeah, so we presented the concepts to respected hosts, and the designs were approved by them. And I think today's part of this public meeting, we're just presenting all three to just general public.
I think I will make a motion because I believe these concepts are fully developed and we can, as we continue on with our mural projects, we can be more specific if we want certain designs, or we could add to the list of criteria. These are beautiful murals and they will be appreciated by the public. So I would like to move that we approve the conceptual designs for these 3 new temporary murals to be painted on the California Avenue district on 2 private walls and space on the road at California Avenue.
Second.
Roll call, Commissioner Miyagi,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Waltuck,
Yes.
and yes for me as well. I think this will be a wonderful beginning to our mural program.
Thank you so much, and we certainly hope to see you help us celebrate the festival between June 1st and 9th.
We definitely I look forward to that very much. Thank you.
Next action item is the Public Art Commission work plan, which I think is attached. This was further revised based on the draft that we presented at the last meeting. And the action is to review and approve the work plan for 23-24 to be submitted to City Council. I imagine, I think the final version will have some artwork as well, right?
If you mean the image samples,
Yes.
So yes, absolutely, we can accommodate that. Be happy to. Just make sure you make a friendly amendment to include that recommendation in the
Yes.
motion.
Yes, yes. Okay, so friendly amendment to review and approve the PAC work plan substantially in the form attached hereto to be supplemented with additional artwork as we have previously done in prior year work plan.
Noted. And do we have a second?
Excuse me one second. So we're just approving. We don't need to go over it anymore. We're all good. Everybody's good. Okay. Just want to make sure.
Do I have a
Second.
motion? Oh,
Second.
second. Great. Roll call. Commissioner Miyagi,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Waltuck,
Yes.
and yes for me as well. Thank you. Next.
Thank you, commissioners. And for the context, the final version with the attached image samples will be provided to city clerks by June 1st. And it will be in the packet will be included on the city council consent calendar for June 2nd, June 12th currently. Mhm.
And just, we approved that, and just in case helpful to provide a little bit of context. Commissioner Gordon and I had attended the mayor and the vice mayor's, round table last night, and the various different commissions talked about work plan and how they used it as an opportunity to consolidate their vision, team building, whatnot. And then also some of them express calendaring concerns and whatnot. But we didn't have those challenges this year. But maybe something to kind of think about in the future.
Thank you.
Nadia, may I ask a question? So the images provided for the work plan, the attachment of the work plan, please feel free to enhance those in any way you see fit, because I'm grabbing those images and I'm sure you have better.
Yes, we'll do. Thank you,
copies. Thank you.
for providing the list of projects to be featured, and we do have high-res images for all of the past temporary projects, special events, and permanent installations in the city.
Are we going to be having a meeting with the city council like in previous years, or is that to be determined?
Director Kane, do you know? You caught me.
Hello, commissioners. I'm Kristen O'Kane. So I believe the work plans, the intent of the work plans was to replace those joint study sessions, but if there is an opportunity or a need, I can certainly present that to the city manager.
Thank you.
Final action item, collection care. Staff is recommending approval of maintenance fund in the amount of up to $6,500 for the neon artwork Excel by artist Brian Coleman, permanently installed on the facade of Palo Alto Arts Center.
Thank you for this introduction. I hope you're not sick of my voice yet. Let me just share this slide, and I promise I'll make it quick. Okay. Share. Here we go. So I'm sure you're all well familiar with this beautiful piece in our collection. So let me just brief you quickly about the piece, the artist, and why we are requesting funds for the this comprehensive repair project. So Excel, a neon abstract artwork that is permanently installed on the facade wall of the Palo Alto Art Center, is by late neon sculptor Brian Coleman. So the artwork was created in the 1980s and was acquired by the city in 1986. The artwork is very representative of Coleman's iconic abstract style of work that includes colorful arching, looping, cursive shaped patterns from specialized glass tubes filled with noble glowing gases. Coleman was really a pioneer in the field of neon art and an integral figure in the 70s reemergence of neon as an art form. He was highly regarded across the United States and internationally, and he was exceptionally successful in Europe, especially during the 80s, which he described as his most prolific period. So notably, the piece that we have in our collection comes from that era, 1980s. Yeah, so it's attributes to that period. So throughout its 40-year-old life, the artwork received maintenance and repair treatments, including a comprehensive repair project performed by the late artist in 2007, and several more recent repairs, and that included replacement of power transformers, timer device, detailed cleaning of maintenance of the tubes. It's a very delicate artwork. Unfortunately, recently, the artwork started again malfunctioning, and with several tubes not lighting up. And additionally, it was damaged during an inspection by an electrician. So it's important to treat this piece not as a neon sign, but a very valuable piece. So it is our approach to its repair. We reached out to the Museum of Neon in Southern California, MONA, where Coleman's work was actually exhibited on a few occasions. And and we asked them to help identify an art professional conservator who could provide a comprehensive conversation repair of the artwork. So the museum connected us with a neon artist and glass blower, David Svensson, who knew the artist really well and worked with him extensively for decades. And, they were close friends, and actually, the last 3 years of Brian's life he spent with David and his family, and he willed him his studio practice, all of the equipment, original glasses, archival materials, etc. So we reached out to David Svensson, described the issue to him. He, as soon as he saw the pictures of the piece, he knew it intimately. He just from the looking at it, like he knew that it wasn't actually positioned accurately, and what needed to be done. So based on that scope, he provided his proposal for the treatment of the piece. And like I said, he's in possession of Brian Coleman's original, glass blow material and some original glasses. He's very familiar with his technique, because Coleman rarely just used neon. He used other noble gases, and the combination of those to create that specific hue and glow. So it's really complex, scientific driven, type of art. So yes, I am sharing with you the scope of that repair. The artist would travel here from Southern California, carefully dismantle the piece off the wall, make a precision pattern of the support locations, wrap and transport the piece back into his studio. He estimates the repair process will take about a month. He will, create, handle the new tubing, like for that damaged part, ensure that all new electrodes applied on the tubing, it's structurally safe, and electricity flows properly. Then he come back here to Palo Alto, reinstall the piece, and he will also exchange all the transformers and to make sure the voltage is right. Set up the timer. The piece is it lights up in the evening, and I think it stays up till about 11 p.m. each night. It's supposed to. And so he will install the work, analyze it, test drive it, and just make sure that all high voltage wiring is placed properly. So today we are recommending the approval of maintenance funds in the amount of $6,500 for that project. And just as a reference, I was checking through past maintenance treatments, and especially the one that Brian Coleman performed in 2007, and his estimate was $6,000 then. So this, I think this is an adequate price, and we believe we couldn't find, a better person for this job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just have a question. What we're looking at is the piece that's across the top of the triangle. Is that that's what's one of the broken pieces? That, yeah.
Yes, you see this striped central tube.
Yeah.
Let me go back, and you can see the piece intact.
Oh,
You
okay.
see,
Okay,
this is
yeah.
when it was repaired and cleaned
Okay.
2 years ago.
Just 2 years ago?
Yes, and it's an older piece, so it has mercury. So it, there's a lot of fake neon pieces that are actually LED. So this is a very delicate and complex piece that uses different types of noble gases. There is mercury in those tubes that glow red. Like, mercury enhances red. I'm learning a lot about neon art, but I'm just scratching the tip of the iceberg with that. But yeah, we need a person who knows how to handle mercury, just to start with.
Exactly.
Speaking of mercury and getting a person who knows how to handle mercury, just want to make sure the person that is proposing to repair it has sufficient insurance.
Oh yes, I already obtained all his insurance certificates as part of the contracting process.
Oh, good.
On that note, I move to approve the maintenance fund in the amount of up to 6,500 for the neon artwork Excel by Brian Coleman installed on the facade of the Palo Alto Arts Center. Do I have any seconds?
Second,
Roll call. Commissioner Miyagi,
yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Waltuck,
Yes.
and yes for me as well. Thank you so much. And I think next item is public letters. Do we have any?
We don't have any public letters this month.
Okay, great. Next item, Commissioner questions, comments, announcements, or future agenda items.
I have one future expansion or future item for the agenda. But a quick comment, as a kid, we got to play with mercury in school. They put it in our hands and we got to, all that. But anyway, so it's just nowadays they had a big mercury spill in Martinez. They're trying to get cleaned up and they don't know where it came from. But anyway, I would like to put on the agenda the expansion of the Public Art Commission. I think we briefly touched on that last meeting, but we couldn't really speak about it because it wasn't on the agenda. So let's put it on the agenda and really speak about that.
For the next action item?
Yes.
Okay, and that's great. And I'll have some updates for you as well. I had a chance to speak to the mayor and so I'll be happy to circle back. And on that note, no more comments or concerns or announcements. Meeting adjourned.